Now we're going to look at the MARAC referral process. So on the screen you can see the MARAC referral process, and since February 2020 referrals are directly sent to North Wales Police. If you have any disclosures of domestic abuse, complete the Safe Lives Risk Identification Checklist when domestic abuse, stalking and honour-based violence is disclosed. And then it's available on the Safeguarding intranet webpage, and if the score is 14 or higher, then this indicates high risk and should be referred to MARAC on the email address on the screen. If a person has a score below 14, a referral can still be made to MARAC on professional opinion if you have significant concerns about their safety and well-being. If you have any concerns or want any advice, please contact your line manager and the BCUHB Corporate Safeguarding team. And in addition to the above, a child at risk report is also required to highlight the concerns surrounding significant harm to any children that may be involved within the family to the local authority. Here you can see the domestic abuse healthcare pathway, and that just supports you in your decision-making process and where you send the referral forms, and there's a quick link there as well to take you to that page for easy access. So in relation to the documentation, you go to the BCUHB homepage, you click on the safeguarding tile, and this is the corporate safeguarding homepage. You then click on violence against women, domestic abuse and sexual violence tile. You scroll down on the domestic abuse, and you scroll down a bit further and you'll find the appropriate documentation there. You will also see the quick links on the right if you need to make an adult or child at risk report. So why risk assess? We need to risk assess because it provides an evidence base and structure, and they act as a guide and they assist professionals. They do not replace professional judgment, but they provide a practical tool to help professionals identify those who are at highest risk and enable them to direct the most appropriate services. They assist with identification of high-risk victims who should be referred to MARAC. So what do you do if somebody declines support? You consider the duty to report in line with the Social Services and Wellbeing Act 2015. You also consider the wider public interest, the detection and prevention of serious crime under Section 115 of the Crime and Disorder Act 1998, and you consider high-risk cases without consent being referred to MARAC. And if a person does not consent to being referred to MARAC, the appropriate form to support that is on the VAWDASV page, and all that information can be found there, and follow the Caldecott principles. A multi-agency risk assessment conference known as MARAC is a regular monthly local meeting to discuss how to help victims of high risk of domestic abuse. It is chaired by the police and it is attended by a domestic abuse specialist, an independent domestic violence advisor, shortened to IDVA. Children's services are represented as well as adult services, health, probation, mental health, substance misuse and third sector agencies such as VAWDASV, VAWDASV and housing sectors. They talk about the victim, the family and perpetrator and share information. The meeting is confidential and together the professionals draw a domestic abuse risk management plan for each victim, and any victim is discussed regardless of gender. And just to reassure everybody, the information discussed is strictly confidential and on a need-to-know basis. Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme, known as Clare's Law. So Clare Wood was a mother of one who was killed by her ex-boyfriend, George Appleton, who, unbeknown to her, had a history of violence against women. Her body was discovered in her home in Salford, Greater Manchester in February 2009. She had been strangled and set on fire. He became known as the Facebook killer as he prowled the social networking sites in search of partners, and in the months before her murder she had repeatedly contacted Greater Manchester Police alleging Appleton had caused criminal damage, harassed her, threatened to kill her and tried to rape her. Police watchdogs later concluded Miss Wood had been badly let down by individual and systematic failures by the Greater Manchester Police Force. Miss Woods, 36, had told her father that Appleton only had a criminal record for motoring offences, and in fact he'd been jailed for 3 years in 2002 for harassing another woman and for 6 months a year earlier after breaching a restraining order on another ex-girlfriend. At the inquest, Miss Wood's death, the coroner, Jennifer Leeming, said women have the right to know about the violent past of men that they are in a relationship with. Appleton was found 6 days later after Claire's death, hanged in a derelict pub. So what is Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme? It was rolled out across 43 police forces in England and Wales in March 2014, following the successful completion of a 14-month pilot. The scheme was introduced to set procedures that could be used by the police in relation to disclosure of information about previous abusive offending by a potentially violent individual to their partner, where this may help protect them from further violent and abusive offending. A review of the scheme was conducted in 2015, and what this Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme does is it recognises 2 procedures for disclosing information. The first, the right to ask, which is triggered by a member of the public applying to the police for a disclosure, and secondly, the right to know, which is triggered by the police making a proactive decision to disclose information to the victim. Domestic Violence Protection Notices, DVPNs, and Domestic Violence Protection Orders, DVPOs. We all know that domestic violence and abuse is a devastating crime that shatters the lives of victims and families, and it is important that police have the right tools to enable them to provide effective protection to vulnerable victims. A DVPN, a Domestic Violence Protection Notice, is an emergency non-molestation and eviction notice which can be issued by the police when attending to a domestic abuse incident to a perpetrator. Because the DVPN is a police-issued notice, it is effective from the time of issue, thereby giving the victim the immediate support they require in such a situation. Within 48 hours of that DVPN being served on the perpetrator, the police make an application to the magistrate court for a DVPO, which is a Domestic Violence Protection Order. This must be heard by the court, and it can prevent the perpetrator from returning to a residence and from having contact with the victim for up to 28 days. This allows the victim a degree of breathing space to consider their options with help of support agencies. Both the DVPN and DVPO contain a condition prohibiting the perpetrator from molesting the victim. Domestic Violence Protection Orders and Domestic Violence Protection Notices were rolled out across all 43 police forces in England and Wales from the 8th of March 2014. They are a civil order that they provide protection to victims by enabling the police and magistrate courts to put in place protective measures in the immediate aftermath of a domestic incident, where there is insufficient evidence to charge the perpetrator, and provide protection to a victim via bail conditions. It lasts for 14 to 28 days, and breach of this could lead to arrest. Domestic homicide reviews are a statutory review by the Home Office in circumstances where there is a death of a person aged 16 or over, or there appears to have been violence, abuse or neglect by a person to whom he or she was related, or with whom he or she had been in an intimate personal relationship, or a member of the same household as him or herself. In these domestic homicide reviews, they draw on common themes. They see if there were any other forms of abuse, physical not recognised, information not shared, if there's any evidence of serious harm not being recognised by professionals and agencies, and what contact they had with the victim. And it includes honour-based violence, honour crimes and honour killings. So how can we offer that support and safety? A harbour to patients, families, friends or colleagues. The first is to help, offering practical help, appointments, signposting, to the Live Fear Free helpline, asking, are you okay? Recognising if the behaviour seems odd or unusual, being available to someone so that they never become isolated. Observe if someone's demeanour changes, especially if they appear withdrawn or becoming depressed. understanding, showing that you're being supportive and not judging. Reassure, be kind, and tell them that the abuse is not their fault. What we must do is reassure them, respect the person's confidentiality and privacy, seek advice from the safeguarding specialists, contact the 24-hour Live Fear-Free helpline if you are worried about someone, call the police if there's an immediate danger, ask questions. Survivors of abuse are clear that they want to be asked about their experience. Consider any children or other people at risk and follow the appropriate safeguarding procedures. Listen to what they say and let them guide you as to what support is best for them. What you must not do is do anything that may cause harm to you or other people. Encourage anyone experiencing domestic abuse to leave. It might not be as simple as them leaving, and it can be a very dangerous time. Don't criticise the abuser or the relationship, focus on the abuse and safety, and don't confront the abuser. You may be angry, but it could put you and the victim in a dangerous situation, and always be led by the wishes and feelings of the victim. Don't be judgmental or blame the person for the abuse they are experiencing. It is never their fault. Here are some slides that just tell you about some support web pages. There's the NSPCC that support children and young people. There's Childline, which is a confidential helpline for children and young people, and also the Hideout, which is a child and teenage friendly information resource which has got games and information for children living with domestic abuse. Sexual Assault Referral Centre brings together a range of specially trained professionals to give help and support and information to individuals who have been raped or sexually assaulted, whether recently or in the past. This service has been developed in partnership with the police, health and voluntary services to ensure the victims of these crimes get the best possible care. So what the SAC does is help victims by explaining their various options that are available to them and help them make the right decision for their situation. Where a young person has been a victim of sexual assault, rape, or there is a suspicion of sexual abuse, then this needs to be reported on a child at risk report to the police and to social services immediately. Amethyst is a sexual assault referral centre for North Wales, and if you need information about those services, they can be contacted on 0808 156 3658 during office hours Monday to Friday 9 to 5. Other times they can be contacted through the out-of-hours services, and a trained crisis worker will call you back as soon as possible. You can also contact them on www.amethystnorthwales.org.uk. Survivors. You and the perpetrator are trapped in this world, just you and them, somebody, anybody from the outside world asking you a question. That could be the first lifeline. So make sure that you take down that Live Fear-Free helpline number of 0808 80 10 800. So to gain compliance in this training, you need to have watched this presentation, you need to complete the VAWDASV assessment, you need to get your line manager to sign it off, and then you need to return it to the Safeguarding Regional Business Support Team, and their email address is at the bottom of this page. Don't forget your payroll number on the assessment form, as this is really important to ensure that your ESR and your training compliance are uploaded and are accurate. These are some useful links that we've pulled together for you during this COVID-19. We've got the bystander toolkit and video link there for you, and we've also got some podcasts which have been produced about staying safe at home, how can family and friends help someone experiencing domestic abuse, and staying safe at home with children and young people. So we're always there for advice and support in the corporate safeguarding team, but always remember, if it's an emergency, contact 999. In Wales, for non-emergencies it's 101, outside Wales it's 0845 607 1002. Please feel free to contact a member of the corporate safeguarding team, whose details can be found on the intranet, and they will be more than happy to support you in any way that they can. And remember the All Wales Live Fear Free helpline, available to everybody across Wales 24 hours a day, 52 weeks of the year, on 0808 80 10 800. And thank you very much.